Administration. Preference may also be given to applicants with a master's degree in one of the aforementioned degree areas. Job title, Police Officer with the Tallahassee Police Department. Code number 387. Applications for this position are accepted on a continuous basis. For minimum training and experience criteria, please visit the city's website at talgov.com. Job title, Firefighter with the Tallahassee Fire Department. Code number 365. Applications for this position are accepted on a continuous basis. For minimum training and experience criteria, please visit the city's website at talgov.com.
A little piece of heaven just across the county line. Well, you best believe you'll be asking about it a second time. So hold the phone and get back to me. I need a small taste of southern hospitality. Not too far, it's a perfect day. Together it feels just right. It's a fine, fine day. It's a fine day. Fine, fine day. Take a walk outside, not even a mile away. Got a reservation with a big glass of Cabernet. So please believe when I say this time, it's a perfect place to engage your mind. Not too far, it's a perfect day. Together it feels just right. It's a fine, fine day. It's a fine day. Fine, fine day. Better get ready, taking you on a flight. Never mind, you can find almost anything. There's nature, art, and technology wrapped in history and southern hospitality. Not too far, it's a perfect day. Together it feels just right. It's a fine, fine day. It's a fine day. Fine, fine day. It's a fine, fine day. It's a fine day. Fine, fine day. It's a fine day. Fine day.
Hi, I'm Dave, proud owner of a working peach orchard and big-time supporter of promoting tourism. So, why does a peach farmer care about tourism? Well, let me tell you a little story about John and Jane.
Hi.
They thought it would be nice to take a vacation. John had ideas, and Jane had ideas. But as they talked, they couldn't decide where to go. They knew their perfect place was out there. They just had to find it. Jane flipped through magazines. John started noticing the vacation ads on TV. On his way to work, John saw billboards and heard radio ads.
Mostly sunny skies.
And once he got there, he talked to his friends about where they spent their vacations. Jane did some research on the internet, visiting different websites to see which places had what they were looking for. After seeing all their options, John and Jane came to the same conclusion.
We found the perfect place.
They were so excited, they started to plan their trip right away. After booking their flights, John was eager to line up some things to do in the perfect place. So he visited the Perfect Place's website, watched a video, checked out the hotels, bought tickets to a ball game, and signed up for the Perfect Place's e-newsletter especially for visitors. Jane called the toll-free number and spoke to a nice lady who told her everything she needed to know about the perfect place. Jane also got the visitor's guide, which helped her learn what theater productions were in town, where to eat, and other things to do in the perfect place. So, John and Jane had explored their options, booked their travel, and planned their vacation. They packed their bags and off they went. End of story, right? Actually, this is where the real story begins, because what do you think John and Jane do when they get to the perfect place? Guess what? They spend their money. They spend their money on their rental car, in their hotel, seeing the attractions, enjoying outdoor activities, shopping, and dining out. They're happy they came to the perfect place.
Manager of the Year across the country. It is my pleasure to present this award to Andrea Roser with Star Metro for her role as the Regional Mobility Manager, serving the elderly, people with disabilities, low-income citizens, and others in the four-county area here in the Tallahassee area. She has helped the regional transportation system change its route system by training volunteers to assist customers during the transition period. She created a regional mobility guide to provide information on all mobility services within the community. She organized a Car Fit events program to help seniors learn about other mobility options when they may have to give up their driver's license. She also organized a regional travel buddy program to assist riders who need individualized help with using the local transit system. She organized a regional mobility summit that brought together more than 130 stakeholder groups, and she designed new concepts for implementing flex route service in rural areas in this service area. Please join me in congratulating Andrea Roser with Star Metro for Mobility Manager of the Year at the national level.
I have to admit, I had no idea this is the first, and this is a national. National. This is not Tallahassee. This is not Florida. This is the entire nation. I think she deserves another round of applause for this, absolutely.
They told me I wasn't going to have to talk. Thank you, Joey, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Ivan. He's my supervisor and kind of brought this position to Star Metro. But I could not have done this without Rashonda, my assistant. She's absolutely amazing. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you all again.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And now the accolades continue. On behalf of Ron Garrison, our Star Metro Director with Ivan Maldonado, Superintendent of Paratransit Operations, please join me at the podium. On the 1st of this month, the Florida Commission for Transportation Disadvantage awarded Star Metro the 2012 Urban Community Transportation of the Year Award. Star Metro was recognized with this honor for some of the following reasons. Most of the other community transportation coordinators in the state of Florida limit the use of transportation disadvantage to medical and life-sustaining transportation. However, Star Metro combines these funds with other federal and local funds to provide transportation disadvantaged transportation to work, education, life-sustaining activities, medical appointments, and shopping. Also, Star Metro implemented a United We Ride Regional Mobility Coordinator Program serving elderly and the disabled citizens in Leon, Gaston, Wakulla, and Jefferson counties. Over 3,000 United We Ride regional mobility guides have been distributed in our 4-county region. Lastly, in 2011, Star Metro held a Regional Capital Mobility Summit that was attended by over 130 transportation stakeholders representing local transportation providers, government representatives, planners, state agencies, as well as public and human service organizations in our region. The main purpose of this summit was to identify human services transportation needs, to improve transportation and to improve transportation coordination, and to identify existing transportation resources in our community. Since the summit, a Capital Region Human Services Mobility Coalition has been formed to further improve regional transportation coordination among public and human service transportation systems, agencies, and consumers. I would like to thank Ron. Ron is not here. Ron Garrison for his leadership, and thanks to the staff of Star Metro for working hard on behalf of the citizens of Tallahassee. Do you want, this is in conjunction with this, is all together. Go ahead, please.
Well, I am extremely honored. On behalf of Ron Garrison, Star Metro, of course, the city of Tallahassee, thank you, each and every one of the commissioners, city manager, for your support and direction. Thank you, all the citizens, all our operators, our planning staff, our staff of Star Metro. We could have not done it without the support of citizens of the city of Tallahassee and the city and in the county of Leon County. We really are honored to serve, and thank you so much for this honor.
Again, we're doing wonderful things here in the city of Tallahassee, and this is just a part of it. We have to help our disadvantaged, disabled, our elderly, and those individuals who need transportation. And I want to thank you all for looking at that and doing such a wonderful job. Thanks again for your support on behalf of all of the citizens in the city of Tallahassee. Thank you. Rob McGarrett, General Manager of the City of Tallahassee's Utility, and the following employees, please join me. This is the employees of the Electric Transmission and Distribution Division: Mike Hatcher, Simon Lee, Lynn Ellis, Michael Gramlin, Eric Dawkins, Steve Franny, Kendrick Oliver, Heath Gebhardt, Justin Hunter, Ashley McDuffie, and Kelsey Jackson. Please join me at the podium. And the accolades continue. Our great city. On March 2nd, 2012, the Florida House of Representatives introduced a resolution honoring the thousands of men and women risking their lives every day, ensuring the reliability delivery of electricity throughout the state. The resolution, sponsored by Representative Seth McKeel, Republican of Lakeland, designated August 26, 2012 as the Line Worker Appreciation Day in the state of Florida. This is an opportunity to recognize our electric utility employees for their dedication and community service as the #1 public utility in America. Let me repeat that. We are the #1 public utility in America. In particular, yeah, that's right. Woo! In particular, we're honoring the line workers and others in the city's electric transmission and distribution division for their hard work and commitment to customers. They maintain the electric grid 24/7. They do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, despite inclement weather, hurricanes, tornadoes, and various other possible hazards. And as mayor, I want to tell you all how very proud of the hard work that you do every day for the citizens of the city. And I would like to read this proclamation recognizing National Lineman Appreciation Month. And I'm certain that my commissioners and all the staff really appreciate you too. And the proclamation reads as follows. I got to find, where's the proclamation on here? Do you have it, Ron? You going to read it? You read it. No, you read it.
It's too small to print. It says, whereas the city of Tallahassee has operated a renowned electric utility for 110 years and continues to serve as a national leader and front runner in the power industry, and whereas the city has been recognized as the #1 public utility in America and top energy innovator by the American Public Power Association, and whereas the Arva B. Hopkins Generating Station Unit 2 has been named by Power Magazine as one of the top 6 gas-fired electric power plants in the world, And whereas Your Own Utilities is committed to providing residential and commercial customers with flexibility, choices, and control in managing their energy usage. And whereas the Electric Utilities Transmission and Distribution Division is comprised of more than 125 dedicated professionals, including line workers, substation electricians, meter technicians, groundspeople, and others who consistently provide the highest level of service to customers. And whereas the Electric Utilities Transmission and Distribution Division maintains the electric grid 24 hours, 7 days a week, despite inclement weather, hurricanes, tornadoes, and various other hazards. And whereas the State of Florida House of Representatives has designated August 26 Line Worker Appreciation Day in honor of the men and women who risk their lives daily in extreme dangerous situations to ensure reliable delivery of electric energy to our customers. And whereas Your Own Utilities is a valuable community asset which sustains the high quality of life in our region and protects vital resources. Now, therefore, John R. Marks, on behalf of the City of Tallahassee and the citizens of Tallahassee, join the state of Florida and communities throughout the state in recognizing and honoring the Electric Utilities Transmission and Distribution Team for its exemplary service and dedication to the community.
Yes, very good. Again, we couldn't do this without these dedicated individuals who are standing before you right now. It would just be impossible. And I want to take this point of privilege on behalf of the commissioners, those 4 fine commissioners up there who really support you as well, that what you do is something remarkable, no less than remarkable, to be #1 in the nation. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you all on behalf of the citizens of this community, as well as on behalf of the commission. Thank you so very much. Let's get a picture.
They always hate to be up.
Thank you all again. Thank you so much. All right. Is Sam here? Where's Sam? Sam McCall, please join me. This is another one. We got a lot of things happen over the break. We got a lot of great things happening over the break. It truly gives me an honor and privilege to present this proclamation to you, Sam, recognizing your recent awards as well as the major contributions that you have made to the city of Tallahassee that has led to these honors. Therefore, as mayor, I would like to present a proclamation signifying our pride here at the City of Tallahassee for your most recent recognition and for the work you do daily to keep us efficient as possible. And I got to find this proclamation. Did you have it? They usually have it here. I'm going to do all these if I. You got it? Okay. Wow. Okay, I'll do it from an iPad. Whereas the City of Tallahassee Auditor Sam McCall has been recognized twice on the national level within this year for best practices that display the leadership and efficiency to other municipalities throughout the nation, and whereas the National Center for Civic Innovation, NCCI, recently recognized the City of Tallahassee and Sam McCall respectively as government trailblazers through the NCCI's Government Performance Reporting Trailblazers program. The program recognizes agencies that have solicited public feedback regarding government performance reports and enhancing the format and dissemination of the reports, have issued performance reports on an ongoing basis, and have agreed to use citizen suggestions when revising performance measures and reports. And whereas the City of Tallahassee and Sam McCall join a group of 69 other governments and government managers throughout the nation who are blazing new trails in how and how they measure and report performance standards. And whereas the National Intergovernmental Audit Reform, NIAF, awarded the City of Tallahassee Auditor Sam McCall the David M. Walker Excellence in Government Performance and Accountability Award for his exemplary performance at the local level. The award recognizes an individual's leadership in improving government performances, accountability, innovative techniques to transform government organizations, and demonstrated adherence to the NIAF core values. Whereas every 2 years, the National Intergovernmental Audit Forum, NIAF, calls for nominations to recognize one individual, each from the federal, state, and local levels of government as accountability officers to be recognized at the organization's biennial meeting. Therefore, I, John R. Marks III, by the power vested in me, as mayor of the City of Tallahassee, do by here honor Sam McCall, our city auditor, for achieving these exceptional recognitions and asking all the citizens to join me in congratulating Sam McCall. He is indeed the best.
Just briefly, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I know that Chief Dick and Chief Jones are going to get recognized in a few minutes, but it's gratifying to see so many people that we audit show up to recognize the auditor's office. Really appreciate the police department, the fire department coming for that. The David Walker Award is for the Comptroller General of the United States who served in that position. So that recognition came really as a result of my staff recommending me. So I was very pleased that staff made that nomination and it came about. And the second thing is this National Center for Civic Innovation recognition. That recognition, is, I hope you all appreciate, came because of the city and not because of me. A couple of years ago, I came to the city manager and asked her if she would work with us, have the leadership team work with us to produce this citizen-centric report. And she was very willing to do that. I think her departments have competed against each other to have the best part of that report. And we received yesterday from the printer the second annual report. So I think we distributed that today to the commission. But this report tells for the citizens what each department's about, what their mission, goals, and objectives are, what are their key measures of performance, what are our challenges and accomplishments going forward. And I think any citizen that looks at this report is going to learn more about the city. We distribute this report also to the civics programs in the school systems in Leon County, so I'm really pleased with that. And most of all, I'd like to thank Michelle Davis in my office who put this report together. She makes it look really good, and we're really pleased with this report. So with that, I'll close, and I'd like to thank the Commission for allowing me to be your city auditor. It's quite an honor. Everywhere I go, the city does more for citizens and more different things than any city I've ever been in, and I think we are very blessed to have the quality of people we have in our city. And coming from the auditor, that's quite a statement.
Well, that's the good news about Sam. Sad news is he's retiring. And next month, I think it is, right, Sam? Not that quick?
Next year.
Next March?
Next spring.
Okay, good. Well, very good. We'll have him around until next March to continue to help us out. But Sam, thank you at this point in time for your service. Here's another good one. I see you. Come up here, Chief Dick, please. This is Chief, our fire chief, the best in the nation, certainly the best in Florida, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. As mayor, it gives me pleasure to present this proclamation to you as Florida Fire Chief of the Year. Woo. I would like to, wait a minute, let's get to the, as mayor, it gives me this pleasure, and I would like to thank you for your leadership as well as the major contributions that you have made to the city of Tallahassee that has led to our recent recognition. I would like to present this proclamation signifying how proud we are of you and from the commission and from this government And the proclamation reads, that's it, okay. Bear with me because this is very well deserved. Whereas, City of Tallahassee Fire Chief Cindy Dick was named Fire Chief of the Year by the Florida Fire Chiefs Association during their 2012 annual conference in Orlando, Florida, and included the delegation of the FFCA, which represents 2,200 fire service professionals throughout the state. Chief Cindy Dick was noted as an obvious choice due to the leadership, community service, and various professional accomplishments. And whereas Chief Dick becomes the first female to be named Fire Chief of the Year and second Tallahassee Fire Chief following Chief Earl Levy in 1977, and whereas Chief Dick was also elected by the FFCA to serve as second vice president of the association and has served as regional director for the association for 3 years, and whereas Chief Cindy Dick is a native Floridian, born in St. Petersburg and moved to Tallahassee in 1978, she is a graduate of Lincoln High School, Tallahassee Community College, and the University of Florida.
Oh, well.
We still love you, Chief. Okay. In the University of Florida, Chief Dick currently holds a master's in business administration. Additionally, she is a graduate of the Senior Executives in State and Local Government program from Harvard University, and a graduate with honors from the National Fire Academy Executive Fire Officer program. And whereas Chief Dick has over 25 years of fire service experience and began her career with the Tallahassee Fire Department in 1987, Cindy rose through the ranks to become fire chief in 2005. She is the first woman to achieve the fire chief rank in Tallahassee and among only the few in the state of Florida. She has assumed responsibilities at every level of organization and has diversified experiences in nearly every division of the department. Her experiences includes extensive work in organizational structure, human resources utilization, statistical analysis, cultural shift, and training of public safety communications. As Chief Executive Officer, she is responsible for leading a staff of 280 personnel and serves approximately 275,000 citizens and responds to over 22,000 emergency calls annually. Now, therefore, I, John R. Marks, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tallahassee, do hereby honor Chief Cindy Dick, Tallahassee's Fire Department, and ask all of our citizens to join me in recognizing and congratulating her for her outstanding accomplishments. Chief Dick. I know she wants to say something. Go ahead.
Well, there's nothing really, thank you. There's nothing really I can say that so many of my colleagues who've been honored here today haven't already said, and clearly what it shows me, and we've got another one coming up here in a minute, and even though it's the police officer, I understand that it's well-deserved as well. But clearly, there are people all over this organization, departments all over this organization excelling, and we could not do that without such a supportive commission, such as supportive management, all these appointed officials who allow us to be creative and implement new ideas and do cool and innovative things that get recognized elsewhere. So thank you to the staff and thank you to you guys for making it all happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Well, here we go again. Coming up, Chief. You know the drill, or at least this one, I hope. This is Chief Dennis Jones. As mayor, it gives me pleasure to present this proclamation to you, recognizing your recent appointment as the president of the Florida Police Chiefs Association, as well as the Tallahassee Police Department's recent honor receiving the National Law Enforcement Challenge Award from the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Wow. Thank you, Chief, for your leadership. And on behalf of the City of Tallahassee, let me see if I can get this proclamation. Bear with me again. Whereas on July 11, 2012, Tallahassee Police Chief Dennis M. Jones was elected and sworn in as the 59th President of the Florida Chief Police Association. Whereas the Florida Police Chiefs Association was created by the Florida Legislature in 1952 and is now composed of over 750 Florida's top law enforcement executives. The mission of the FPCA is to enhance public security by providing superior police protection for the residents of Florida and its many visitors, and to provide better communications, education, and training for the state's various police and security agencies. Whereas all members of the association representing every region of the state support and maintain the highest standards of public safety and police protection for the millions of people who live, work, and play in the state of Florida, and whereas Chief Jones is a graduate of the Pennsylvania State University, the FBI National Academy, and has over 30 years of law enforcement experience, whereas in May 2007, Dennis Jones became the Chief of Police for the Tallahassee Police Department. He has committed his life to the public service and protecting the people he serves. Trust, loyalty, and commitment are the fundamental foundations through which Chief Jones guides the Tallahassee Police Department. By joining forces with local businesses, community leaders, and parents, Chief Jones strives for community partnership in solving criminal activity. Because of the trust and outstanding relationship between citizens of Tallahassee and the Tallahassee Police Department, the community has experienced a decrease in overall crime since 2001. Now, therefore, I, John R. Marks, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of Tallahassee, do hereby honor Chief Dennis Jones of the Tallahassee Police Department for his outstanding accomplishments, and I ask all citizens of Tallahassee to join me in congratulating Chief Jones. Thank you, Chief Jones. Now, sometimes Chief Jones is lost for words, but I believe he wants to say something to us this time. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner, Madam Manager, for allowing me to serve in this capacity. It is an honor, indeed, to be elected by your peers, but also to be able to represent the city of Tallahassee for the state of Florida, for all of the police chiefs in this state, and to be able to represent at an international level. The other award is really deserving. It's real easy to lead a department when you have great people and great employees, great officers. The men and women of the Tallahassee Police Department really deserve the credit in these awards, and I appreciate their support and their hard work. So thank you all for honoring me, and thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. Whole group, come on up. The chief says, come up.
This is their award.
Chief, please notice that Deputy Chief Cheryl Stewart is still sitting down. Do you need to give her a direct order?
Rick, come on. Major Connell.
Not the right one, this is the same one.
Oh, wait a minute. Got the wrong one. Yes, there you go.
Okay. Okay. We'll get these procs straight tonight. Y'all got to come in close. Come on.
Lean into each other there.
Bunch up here.
Come on. Act like you know each other and stuff. Okay. Whereas the International Association of Chiefs of Police conducts an annual nationwide law enforcement challenge to select the top-ranked traffic enforcement program in the country, and whereas the Florida Department of Transportation also holds an annual competition to identify the best traffic safety programs among Florida law enforcement agencies, and whereas the Tallahassee Police Department uses traffic enforcement as a key crime-fighting tool with its efforts during 2011, making Tallahassee's roads safer for all drivers by reducing traffic crashes 30% and alcohol-related traffic fatalities by 50%. And whereas TPD entered into the annual national and state competitions with agencies of similar size, and as a result of outstanding work, was selected by the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the Florida Department of Transportation as having the best traffic enforcement and education programs in the state of Florida and this nation. Now, therefore, I, John R. Marks III, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of Tallahassee, do hereby congratulate the men and the women of the Tallahassee Police Department for receiving this exceptional award and for keeping our roadways safe. Wow, what more can you say about these folks? Okay, thank you so very much. Thank you.
It's an honor for us to have received both the state and the national award for having the best traffic enforcement unit. And it's not just enforcement that we do, but it's also education. Our seatbelt usage has gone up, and the crashes for our city of Tallahassee have gone down. So it's because of the men and women that are behind me and that work with us that make this happen. Thank you.
I just wanted to say one other thing that some people may not realize, but in the last 6 years, Tallahassee has won first place at International Association of Chiefs of Police 3 times out of the last 6 years. So it's hard to stay on top, so we keep trying, but we appreciate it. And it's the hard effort and hard work by all of the men and women of the Tallahassee Police Department. This is just one example of one unit, but we've got many of them out there doing the same job every day, and some couldn't be here. But thank you again for recognition.
There's not much more I can say, except that you all, those on TV and you all in the audience, you've seen what we have done tonight and what this city and this community has done. You've seen the awards from the electric department. You've seen the transportation department with the bus transportation and what they're doing, the police association, the police in our community, the firemen in our community. Only thing that says, and we got the best utility system, public utility system in the nation. And what that says to me, and I think it says to everybody, I'm sure the commissioners will join me, is that we do have the best, and we do have a well-run city. We do have employees in the city that are dedicated to making this city the best. And quite frankly, with these accolades, there's nothing to say that we aren't the best. And we certainly are the best. And I want to thank all the employees. I want to thank all of you for what you're doing. And I know that on behalf of the citizens of this community, I want to thank all of you all for making us a safe city, for making us a beautiful city, to making it a city where we all can get around easily, and making it our electric utility system. We got some of the lowest rates in the state, by the way. That's what we have here in the city of Tallahassee. So I want to thank you all, and I hope every citizen out there, if you see these folks, if you see these people, say something to them, because they deserve it. Thank you very much. All right, Madam City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, we jumped the gun on consent.
Well, we didn't.
Yeah, and we need to go back to citizen input on agenda items.
That piece. We can do that.
Right.
Okay.
For citizen input, we do have a couple of speakers at this time, Mayor. The first is Ron Sachs, who would like to speak on item 9.04. And you did, in working with agenda modifications, move and approve the consent agenda, but we'll have Mr. Sachs speak to his item at this point.
All right. That was an error on our part. And if we have to go back, Mr. Sachs, for that item, we certainly will do that. Okay?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity as a citizen to appear before you. And while I don't expect a standing ovation today, it's wonderful to live here by choice in this community, and that was just a reflection of all those accolades. Why? I'm here probably not on behalf of my own business, certainly not, but on behalf of our business community and our local economy. I've lived here for 22 years by choice. I started a business 17 years ago, so I know what it's like to make a payroll. I like to do business with local businesses, banking, insurance, creative services, which is what my industry is. I know the city has a policy about preferring to do business with local businesses whenever possible, all things being equal. I could quote to you from it because it's a 3- or 4-page policy. I think I'll just read one sentence, which is, the city considers local business to be vital to the community, recognizes fostering economic viability of local businesses, serves a vital local purpose. It's the intent of the city to maximize opportunities for local businesses to participate in all aspects of the city's procurement. Again, I'm not here about my own company and the work about which I'm going to speak. My company will not pursue any contract in, but I'm a believer in shopping local. I'm a believer in supporting this community. I believe in the airport so much that I invest thousands of dollars advertising my company there with the giant bear fish ad near the TSA cavity search location. All right? I don't expect a rebate for that, but I expect some respect for our local business community. The airport recently, with its change in leadership, is making some very exciting plans for improving air service in and out of Tallahassee. I applaud that, like anybody who wants to get in and out of this community. I applaud the background of the 2 leaders at our airport. I applaud their intentions, but I do not applaud a conscious decision recently made that was a bad decision, and rather than acknowledge it, they've circled the wagons to defend it. And I'm here today to out it. Though I've done that already, I wanted to do it in person in front of all of you. So your policy about local contracts, if a company locally can do the work, is admirable. There are exceptions and exemptions to that you're more familiar with than I am. Any contract under $25,000 doesn't have to be bid out. Any contract sole sourced does not have to come up for your review or for competitive bidding. And that's what recently happened. The first contract significantly in marketing our airport with the new vision for the future did not go to a local company. It didn't even go to a Florida company. It was flown direct to Atlanta in a no-bid contract for $23,000. Now, the airport spokespeople, and I'm talking about the 2 top guys who I have high regard for, but not regarding this decision, have defended this bad decision by saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that they did not believe any local companies had the skill set to perform these particular services. That's exactly the answer given to a handful of marketing firms, including mine, that were invited to the airport last week for the rollout of the latest marketing plan.
And it was your 3 minutes has expired.
Roll it.
I'm going to ask for a little special indulgence here. Here's a list of almost 30 local agencies that could do this work. None of them were contacted. None of them were offered the opportunity to compete for the business. And what I want to say is, if we want people to support this community and its economy and fly Tallahassee, let's do the same thing with contracts the city lets. And anybody who purports that a $23,000 contract is not significant has lost respect for the value of a dollar in the toughest economy of our lifetimes. Bad decisions should not be defended. They need to be outed and apologized for. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions
Mayor,
for? What?
Could I?
Yes, of course. Sure.
We don't normally do this here, but this is a moment where, because I received to a degree some warning and I appreciate you giving me a heads up, Ron, that you might be here. I'm the commissioner that the city commission has designated as the liaison with the airport. The first thing I want to do, Ron, is, because clearly you're very focused and have very, very well-defined opinions on this, but I also want to recognize, because I want people to also know in this community that happen to watch this broadcast the great things that you also do for the community in other ways. You use the term, we live here by choice, and I know that virtually everybody up here is extremely pleased and proud of the fact of all you've done for the Choose Tallahassee movement. Everyone's talking about it. It's a good thing. We're going to get more seniors here because of the work you've done, and I want to thank you for that. I think also we recognize, because we have as part of our report here in this agenda item, that our airport is on an upward movement. The numbers, I saw 6.3% increase in May, 8.1% increase in June, 4% annually, which are better numbers than we ever expected. So while I congratulate you on Choose Tallahassee and coming here today, because this is important, I also want to congratulate, because it was on consent, our airport, our director, Sunil Harman, and also Marshall Taggart on your efforts. Having said that, I'm in an unusual position because while your company is substantially larger than mine, I do occasionally similar work, and I understand your position completely, because there are other companies in this market that clearly do web design. On the flip side, I understand that there was a decision that needed to be made, and our airport director made it. There are also some FAA restrictions, I believe, that we have. I think both of you, or everybody here, is saying the same thing, and that is we want a better airport, we want lower fares, we want better service, and we want everyone to be aware of what we all do in the future so that if and when this situation occurs again, everyone knows what's available to us. I think we've done that. I appreciate you coming, Ron. I appreciate you guys are doing at the airport. You know each other. I'd like to move forward. Those are my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Let me ask a question, Sunil. We have an airport advisory committee. Was this matter taken before that advisory committee? Did they look at this? Did they
yes, sir. We actually, this wasn't done under the shroud of secrecy. We actually took it in front of the advisory committee and requested a vote for them to approve the scope of work. We then subsequently vetted the company because I wanted a company that had won awards designing websites. And this company clearly came highly recommended. They'd done the website for Delta Airlines. They'd done the website for the Hartfield Concessions Program. And there was an additional issue that I had to take into consideration. We had to meet our DBE goals. We haven't been doing very well in our DBE goals at the airport. And this came as a DBE firm. Now, she flew down here on 3 separate occasions. The first time I met her was when she was here with the advisory group. I had to make a decision based on timing. It was a judgment call. And, you know, quite frankly, if we'd put it out to bid, our criteria would have been that you have to be experienced in developing websites for airports and airlines, at least for 2 years. You should have won an award doing that, because these are unique types of websites. It's not the launch of our marketing plan. It's actually to roll out the low fares that we're seeing at the airport today.
What's to explain the $25,000 threshold that we're talking about?
There's a $25,000 threshold at the director's discretion to award contracts because the cost benefit of going through a competitive process usually exceeds that amount. So when you hire us with our professional judgment and our experience with certain firms. Marshall obviously had worked with this firm before. I felt that they could deliver, and we needed them to deliver fairly quickly. It was an 8-week scope of work. So I executed the contract.
Any other questions from, yes?
Well, my question is about the website itself and your marketing plan in general. And this is a portion of that, correct?
No, ma'am. The marketing, this is a portion of the air service development. We have been aggressively pursuing airlines to reduce their fares in exchange for reductions in their operating costs. I'm not talking about the sort of fares that some of you have heralded as wonderful. Those are the super saver fares. But on average, with a typical economy refundable fare, if you were to book it with a sufficient period of notice, you would see about 14% reduction over last year, because we've committed to return funds to them. And this year, this kind of shrouds the successes that we've had. I've been able to return 10% of the operating costs to the airlines this year. They've seen increases in costs year over year since 2002.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other?
Well, but there are, the marketing program, there's still substantial dollars left that will be bid out that anybody can bid.
We are so short in funds that if I could, I would return every discretionary fund that we have to the airlines. We wanted to engage the local community. We assured them that we were going to package a marketing plan and put it out there. That was the cause for that meeting that we had with the local firms. Now, typically when we bid these out, they usually get outbid by much more experienced national companies that have done work for airports and airlines. So what we're trying to do is actually partner them up. They can act as primes or sub, but get a portion of the contracts.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mayor, we have one other speaker on a different item.
Okay.
To move forward.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Danny Shrine on item 1301, the Saley property transaction.
1301.
Yes. And let me ask the speaker, if you would, to give your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes, and the light will let you know when your time's coming.
My name is Danny Shrine. I live at 5728 Braveheart Way. I'm the founder and co-owner, along with my wife, Tracy, Full Press Apparel. We've been a business on Gain Street for 15 years. I know very many of you, I think I've had the chance to do business one way or the other with just about all of you in the 15 years, and with very many of the people that have been here tonight and have also left. I'm extremely concerned about the project that's going on next to us. People have been asking me for a long time about what's going on Gain Street, and I've been able to explain that there are two different lives on Gain Street. There's everything that's happening between the sidewalks, which I'll tell you I could not be more excited about. It is a beautiful project, and it is transforming a part of the town. But the part that's affecting our business is specifically the role of city as land developer, and specifically my next door neighbor. For 15 years, we've operated a very successful business. We've grown from a small company to now the one that exports the work and labor and talents of Tallahasseans every day. UPS trucks pull up and ship out the work that we do every day. But our focus as a business has always been to be a resident, a neighbor, and a member of this community. You know, I think of the work that my wife does with Commissioner Gillum's wife through the Junior League, the work that I'm able to do, the opportunities the business has provided me through my Rotary Club, and I think of the playground we built at Tom Brown Park. I think of the impact that we have in the lives of our neighbors, of your neighbors, of the people in this community, and I realize, that what we do is important, and the fact that we do it is important where we're at. I found out recently from the Assistant Licensing Director at Florida State that we have achieved the accomplishment of becoming the largest provider of imprinted merchandise to the university for internal use. Everything from fraternities and sororities to clubs to intramurals to thousands of shirts for the international program. Our location on Gain Street is critical for what we do and for the services that we provide to both campus communities and the impact that we're able to have on this community that we all live in. We're a family-owned business. Both of my children were born, and we built a nursery in our business so that we could bring our kids to work, so that my wife can continue to work. But the development of the Saley property next to us, where when the city bought the property, we had a lease to park on that property, and the day that the city bought the property, a member of the staff came over and said, well, Mr. Shrine, we've got a problem. You're parking on my property. Before we even made formal introductions. And I said, well, when I woke up this morning, I had a lease to park on all these parking spots. I paid every month. Why don't you just tell me where I need to send the check? Well, now, and you have an agenda item today to discuss the diminishment of the sale of that property. Specifically, one of the items is the easement that's next to our building. Well, the easement that's being proposed, and not actually proposed, but has already begun to be built, is 36 inches from the side of my building. 36 inches. 3 feet, and it is going to render our business inoperable. When I saw the plan the first time, if I may continue very quickly, when I saw the plan the first time, I told the members of your staff, because the plan was in place, the negotiations were done, all I's were dotted and T's were crossed, except one little detail dealing with the fact that there's an easement in a road in the middle of all this. I've been asking for years to put that easement 15 feet from the side of our building and allow our parking to exist. The plan as it stands right now will force this local business to close. We will no longer be an asset in this community. The cost of moving our business for what we've put in there for 15 years, our business doesn't work if we're not near the campus. The services that we provide to the students don't work if we're out on Capitol Circle Northeast. And today, in the 15 years of our business, is the most important day in my business's history. The 5 of you hold in your hands the future of my company, the 18 employees that I employ, the work that we do, and the investment that we make in this community. And I'm asking for your help and your consideration to slow that project down.
Thank you. Any questions?
If you
Yes.
would like, I'd like to
Yeah,
have
that'd be
Jay Townsend come up and just give an update on what has occurred. But I don't know whether or not anyone has had a chance to talk with you, but I was speaking with Commissioner Miller on this yesterday, and we were able to come up via staff's recommendation to actually provide some parking to you through the new public parking facility that will exist there. And we haven't had a chance to talk about that, so I didn't want to throw that out to you in that way, but we actually are going to be able to provide you with some parking. Jay, let me ask you to address that issue first, and then we can talk with Mr. Shrine and figure out how this might work better for him.
Excuse me, Madam Manager, could you repeat your question to me that you wanted me to speak specifically to?
Yeah, can you give us just an update quickly on where we are staff-wise with that issue and the parking issue and what we're able to do based on our conversation today?
Yes, ma'am. The developer of North American Properties has a parking garage within their proposed development. And so there's about 127, Michael's not here, there's about 127 parking spaces, or actually probably a little bit more public parking spaces in that development. The manager, in conversation with staff today, looked at offering up at least 3 of those spaces that could be used by Full Press Apparel on a lease basis, fair market lease basis. And so that's where we're at from that perspective. I will tell you that we've been going through, from a staff perspective, we've been going through a design process with the developer, mindful of the impact to the adjacent neighbors. So the end design that you see today is a sort of an iteration, if you will, of those discussions, both with Mr. Shine and the staff looking at the project. We now have its 30-foot mark, 30-foot alleyway that actually separates the 2 buildings. And we are actually putting about $100,000 into improvements both in the alleyway and into parking spaces for the Full Press Apparel building. And that's, the owner is not Mr. Shrine, it's actually
Inez Davenport.
Yeah, Mrs. Davenport. So all our negotiations from a legal perspective have to happen with the owner itself. But we are willing to do that both with the owner and Mr. Shine for that perspective. Now, Mr. Shine did come back to us and say that the proposal, the 3 parking spaces, was not sufficient for what he wants. He wants to see at least 15 spaces dedicated.
He's shaking his head no. How many?
What I spoke of is that I had a lease on 15 spaces prior to the city purchasing the property.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I've spoken previously and been denied and denied and denied in the multiple times that I've had this conversation with staff. I was told that there wouldn't be the opportunity to make any available. What I did ask for was, hey, okay, we understand this is a lot of property. We don't need all this. Can we put parallel parking on the street that will go in there? And every time I've asked for any kind of accommodation, again, remembering that the easement that's still in place and that still is far from being finished in negotiations throws a monkey wrench into the whole project. That if the easement that goes from the back of our property to Gay Street isn't dealt with, then the whole project can fall apart. I've come up with a plan that says this keeps the property viable because it's a shotgun property. All the property for the property is for the building is in the back. And I said, we can find out something that's a win-win, that everybody can walk away with something from this. The woman that does own the property, her name is Inez Davenport, and she's been a great landlady. We've offered from 1997 to today to try to buy the property, and we do have the right of first refusal to purchase the property, at which time she determines to sell. A big concern that we have is that she's 94 years old and isn't completely aware of all of the ins and the outs of the project that's going on, and she's represented by an attorney who's a partner in a firm who has associates that actually do a lot of work with the city as well. So her son, Aaron, the person that has the Dr. Davenport from town, who has durable power of attorney, is very concerned about the conflict of interest that the attorney that's negotiating on her behalf might not have her interest in heart.
Well, we can't get into that piece of it, but Commissioners, this seems to be a fairly, I won't say complicated, but a fairly intense.
Would the action on the agenda item today prevent us from having discussions with Mr. Shine on this issue and being able to come to a resolution?
No, ma'am.
Is there anything about that agenda item that the action on it would?
No, ma'am. You already have an agreement in place with North American Properties. This is an amendment to that agreement to reduce the purchase price. And so that's really what you're discussing tonight. We can't close on the property until we work through the contingency, and the contingency is working out the resolutions as they relate to the easements.
Okay.
So we can't close on the property until we work it out with Mrs. Davenport.
All right.
So the,
Commissioner?
Sure. Between the new property and Mr. Shine's building, there is going to be an alley that runs down that?
Yes, sir. It's a 30-foot alley.
Which is for vehicular traffic, or it's just an open space?
It's vehicular traffic. It's going to provide access to the rear of the building.
Which is where the parking is?
Correct, and employee parking.
Okay, so right now we're offering 3 spaces, and I think you and I had
That would be in an adjacent parking garage that North American Properties is building.
Correct. How many spaces would you need? I mean, not the, you said 15 is not the number. What is the number?
Yeah, because we can accommodate, and we propose the idea of cutting down some trees and putting parking in the back for our employees, but at any time, we have anywhere from 3, 5, sometimes as many as 8 people in our office doing business.
Customers. Or vendors or whomever.
We'd talk somewhere 8 to 10 in the parking garage. If it was a little bit less, it's the notion that people know that they can get to our business.
Right.
If those spots are full with other customers and they have to drive around, that's okay, as long as the notion is there that we can get to our business.
Commissioner, let's let the staff get with them.
I think that we're really committed to working out something with Mr. Shine. I talked to Commissioner Miller about it yesterday and again today, and I talked with staff today. I think we can work out something. Can I set up something to meet with you tomorrow?
I would very much.
Okay.
All right, let's do that. We can't work this out here.
I don't want to. I just have some questions
Sure.
about the whole thing. Right before the meeting, the manager sent me a proposal from Mr. Bedouin, our staff person that handles our real estate, and I just was trying to get a fix on exactly what was happening, not only on this property, but the Solly property, the North American properties. Thank you very much. I'm not clear on exactly what is public parking and what is parking that is to serve the 248 residences and the commercial that's supposed to go into the North American Properties buildings. So that's my first question. And secondarily, well, we got into the topic of metering, which we'll have to settle later because Mr. Townsend and I got back and forth about, oh, well, I just got over being a student over there and I know what it's like to find parking, and this will be full of students who will be there all day. So we're going to have to do something to address that. So if you could help me to understand, and that's why I asked you for the graphic, who parks where, where's the parking for the units, where's the parking for the businesses?
So if you look at the diagram that I just threw up, you'll see what it says public parking. That's actually a parking garage facility. You're just seeing the outline of the parking spaces themselves. That facility is about 464 parking spaces that serves the North American Properties development, the Saley property. Within the context of that parking garage, there's 156 spaces that are public parking spaces that the CRA has purchased. That was the CRA's contribution to that project. You basically purchased those parking spaces. So then you'll see on Gain Street, right here, can't see my finger, right there is the full press apparel facility. There's the 30-foot easement. And then here is the on-street parking, parallel parking that will be on the street that will also serve the retail businesses that are part of the North American Properties. And that was part of, again, that development and the finances that we put it. Even in the original Gain Street design, there were no parallel parking or there were no parking spaces in front of the full press apparel building because of the space limitations. There is public parking across the street on the other side of Gain Street.
That was the issue you were trying to straighten out, Commissioner Miller?
Yeah, this morning.
It is across the street.
This is a parking garage. This parking garage, does that go over all the way to the service road? And is that service road the only access to this parking garage in and out?
No. You'll see in the middle of those two retail buildings, there's actually a road access as well.
All right. What about up at Gain Street? Is there no way to turn into, so to get into this parking lot, you really would have to turn right here where it says Gay Street. What about in the front of the alley. Is there any way to turn, if you were headed west on Gaines, to turn into the alley?
I can answer that. There was, they had started to put the stakes in to pour the concrete for the curbage, and there was going to be a situation where you were not able to turn left if you were westbound on Gaines Street. And basically it was like Don Quixote tilting at windmills in the middle of the street, and somebody came out very quickly and changed that. So there now is access eastbound, westbound, left turn, right turn.
So I just want staff to verify, if you don't mind.
There is access to be able to turn left just fine. It's just, we would like that access to be slightly further to the west so that anybody that was trying to walk to our building didn't have to dodge traffic 36 inches from our building, you know.
Commissioners, we're not going to be able to.
No, I just don't understand the parking plan, and I needed to know, obviously, this particular, we've heard all this about parking, and I've heard about it at the CRA and everything, and as far as the public parking element, what I really wanted to know, thank you very much, was where's the parking that's serving the development itself, and where's the public parking? And so you've given me that. How many stories is this public parking building?
It's a 4-story parking facility.
Okay. All right. Good luck, Mr. Shrine, with your work with the staff.
Thank you very much. Appreciate what you're saying. Thank you, Mr. Shine, for coming in and bringing this to our attention. Next item.
Any more speakers, Jim?
No more speakers at this point. We do have unagended speakers for later in the meeting.
Okay. Gotcha. We have no consent items.
We are on introduction of ordinances, and we have 2 today, and the city attorney will handle them, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Manager. We do have 2 ordinances for introduction. Item 1201 is Ordinance 12Z30, proposed amendments to the official zoning map to change from Symphony Urban PUD to the Central Core Zoning District. That'll be set for public hearing on August 29th. The second is item 1202 is ordinance number 12033, which is an ordinance that amends the business tax ordinance to provide for an exemption for veterans organizations, and that will be set on September 19th.
All right, those 2 ordinances are introduced at this point. We're on policy formation and direction.
Policy formation and direction is item number 13.01, which is a discussion of price adjustment on the sale of property contract. Commissioners, this item is requesting your consideration for an amendment to the sales contract with North American Properties. As we have previously discussed, the commission previously approved the purchase for the Saley property in the amount of $3.6 million. During the site plan review process, it was determined that there was a necessity to retain portions of the property for right-of-way and for an electric easement. The developer has agreed to fund the construction of a paved alley, parking and streetscape improvements. The value of this right-of-way is $465,183, and we're requesting a reduction in the sales price to reflect those considerations. Mark Bedoin is here to answer any questions you might have on this item.
Any questions, Commissioner?
Are these costs being paid by the electric utility, or who's going to absorb that $465,000?
Commissioner, there are 2 components to the request. Some of it is right-of-way that we're retaining. We're deducting that from the purchase price, so the sales proceeds would be less to the city in that instant.
Right, but the city, these are CRA monies?
No, we purchased the property with the Gaines Street Improvement Funds with the monies to go back into the Gaines Street project. So that amount less will go back into the Gaines Street project. The cost of the improvements is a wash because we're change ordering that from the project, and the developer's going to pay for it because if we put it in now, they just have to tear it out during construction. So the real cost is the value of the right-of-way.
Got it. Of which the city's going to absorb, or is the department who is taking the right-of-way going to absorb? Okay.
Which we normally would under any circumstances.
The department, the respective departments.
Yeah, whichever department is required to do that would do it.
Got it.
That's just a normal city responsibility.
The electric easement is to serve an adjoining property owner. It doesn't have anything to do with this development.
Yeah.
That's part of the taking it off Gaines Street and feeding it from the back. So.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Mayor, I just have a comment.
Sure.
Well, the first thing my first impression is that we are basically playing with the big boys now. And we're going to have to identify these things up front. I mean, we had an easement that served a property that went to Gay Street, which we needed to basically abandon Gay Street in order for this property to be sold for this project. We have sewer, and I thought there was a sewer and water easement that needed to be obtained on this property also, so I'd like for you to answer that. But these things have to be identified. We can't sell property to people and then have to buy it back, which to me is exactly what's happening here. So if we can just, we've got a lot of activity going on down on Gaines Street and in other parts of town also, and if we can identify these problems before we sell the property to folks so we don't have to do this again, I would be very happy.
Commissioner?
Yeah, is the sale price or the reduction based on our square footage rate, or is it based on theirs?
We sold them the property at a price per square foot of $19.22 per square foot. We are prorating the cost of the deduction at 60% of that value. So in other words, the developer is still paying for 40% of the value because some of those right-of-ways, that's going to inure to their benefit as well. So that was a negotiated item. We're not paying the full cost of the right-of-way.
Anything else? Motion?
Second.
It's properly moved and second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 It passes unanimously. Next item.
Next item is 13.02, approval of Columbus Pacific Properties Transportation Agreement. The city attorney will handle this.
Mayor and Commissioners, there is a potential new purchaser of the commercial component of the Falls Chase property. I think you're all familiar with that property, being that frontage on Mahan that currently houses the Costco, the Walmart, the vacant Sportsman Warehouse, and at McDonald's. That property was developed by AIG Baker. They completed the infrastructure, did those buildings, and then subsequently filed bankruptcy. And then subsequently, the property has been foreclosed on by Wells Fargo, who was the successor to Wachovia, who has a mortgage on the property. The prospective purchaser came to us to negotiate a new transportation agreement to make a contribution to transportation similar to the previous developer. We've negotiated, I think we have a very good agreement. We've negotiated an agreement that they will pay us $750,000, which is $250,000 a year over the next 3 years, and that is available to the commission to use for any transportation purposes. The budget office has looked at that funding source and believes that we can probably bring something back to use that money for the funds needed for the I-10 Willani study, which obviously would benefit this property also. So again, we think it's a very good agreement. Really excited about having a new owner in there that hopefully can bring in some new businesses and revitalize that development. So with that, we recommend it.
We're not earmarking, I don't like to use that term too much, we're not earmarking these funds for that interchange as of yet, are we? Is that a part of this?
No.
I want to make sure.
No. The agreement provides the money is unrestricted, other than we have to use it for transportation studies or other purposes. So.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Yeah. Where did the 750 come from? Is that inuring from a previous negotiated agreement, or is this?
We went back and looked at apportioning the previous mitigation costs between the residential and the commercial. Previously, that was one lump sum for the whole development. The bigger piece is obviously the residential, although the traffic impact is probably not as great. And then, frankly, it was just a pretty hard negotiation between what they were willing to pay in this day and time and what we were willing to accept.
But did we have was there a number that we started with based on the previous analysis of road impact?
In the negotiation?
Not necessarily in the negotiation, but I assume under his previous ownership, there was an expected transportation.
Previous agreement was $4 million for the entire property.
But you get to separate out the residential from the commercial. So when you do that, what number?
We're not giving up our opportunity to proceed against the residential properties, and we still want to do that to try to recover the balance of the $4 million. But we were looking at, frankly, we started our negotiations somewhere around $1.5 million, and they were at $250,000. And
Okay.
And see, the question, Commissioner, without getting into a great deal of detail, is the big question is whether we had anything that we could enforce after the foreclosure, after the bankruptcy and then the foreclosure. So
Against the new owner, yeah, right?
right. So we were very appreciative that the new owner came in. I think wanted to do the right thing, wanted to have that relationship with the city. So.
Okay, I'll move approval.
Second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Next item.
The next item is item number 13.03, approval of the 2011 State Homeland Security Grant Program, sub-recipient agreement for expenditure of local government unit funding for Florida. And Commissioners, this item is seeking your approval to accept and also to expend $106,833 awarded through the 2011 State Homeland Security Grant Program, also funded by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The fire department has been receiving this funding annually since 2002, and it utilizes it for the express purpose of training and equipping the hazardous materials response team and the urban search and rescue team. Each of these specialized response teams provides service locally as well as having regional responsibility for 13 counties across the Big Bend. And the best fire chief in Florida can come forward and answer any questions if you have any.
Best fire chief in Florida. Any questions?
I'll move the item.
Second.
It's properly moved in second. I might just call up just to ask. No. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Next item.
We have on our agenda today, Commissioners, the target issue update, but it's my understanding that just coming back from break, we don't have any target issue updates. We actually had one originally, and Commissioner Mushton recalled that he had already given that report at your last meeting. So we will have that at our next first meeting. So we're on unagended speakers.
Mayor, we have a number of speakers. The first is Tabitha Frazier. She'll be followed by Skylar Frazier. I'll remind speakers that you have 3 minutes. You'll have a light that is green that will turn yellow with 30 seconds remaining, and then red when your time's expired. Please give your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Tabitha Frazier, and I live at 415 Vintage Ride. And thank you for hearing today. I'm here to speak on behalf of the proposed closing of the Lafayette Park Art Center. I'm here representing a group of parents. My children have gone to the Lafayette Art Park Center for years, and we love it, and we were distressed to read about the closing. So a group of parents kind of got together whose children go, and we started a Facebook group, and in a week it grew to over 110 people. And we got together as a planning group, like, what can we do to help save this? We understand that there's a budget shortfall of $55,000. That was what was reported in the newspaper. I don't like the city to meet a budget shortfall, and one thing that we all talked about is we had talked about how we're always surprised at how inexpensive it was. So we know that there was a survey done through the city where they asked people in the city if they'd be willing to pay more. But I did receive the survey, and I don't think the survey mentioned the Art Center at all. It just talked about certain like activities such as sports things, and this is sent out to every single city resident. So we did a survey of our own where we sent out to only the art camp parents at Lafayette, and the only thing we had a list of summer camp parents. Now there are a total of 305 students that can attend the art camp. We only mailed to 129 parents because many families send their children to multiple sessions. Of the 129 responses, we had almost 40% respond back, all of which said that they'd be willing to pay more. And we asked two questions. We asked if you'd be willing to pay more for the summer camp and if you'd be willing to pay more for classes throughout the year. And our average was a 40% increase for summer camp and a 60% for the school year. Just the summer camp totals alone, if you raise it, this is an increase of almost $20,000. That's a large chunk towards the deficit. So we would love to keep this open. The city is working with you, or we'd like to work with you, and I wanted to give a copy of how many responses that we actually got from people that attend. It was overwhelming, even though it was only 40%, and a lot of people wrote letters, and of these families, many of these families actually do not pay at all to go to the camp. So the people that we did hear back from said they were willing. We did hear back from 2 families that did not pay, and I just want to convey one mother's story. She said that her children go all summer long. It's important to her. She has no idea what they would do without this camp, and that her child is a CIT, which is a counselor in training, who was devastated when she heard that this might close. She said it was the most enriching thing to her children's life, and she hopes it stays open. But thank you for your time. I know that you have gotten letters. We also started a letter writing campaign, and we're just here to be on the record and reflect and hope that you do what you can do to keep it open, and we as citizens are willing to meet you halfway. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, yes, we did get quite a few letters, emails, phone calls, personal visits, stopping in the shopping centers, stopping in the grocery stores, banks, and everything. So we've been touched by your by this, and I actually wrote a letter after receiving some calls. I wrote a letter to the city manager and asked her to see if we can figure some way to work this out and see whether or not we can address this issue, because I think it is an asset to our community. I really do. And I am certainly glad that you've come up with some ideas, and I would encourage you all to continue to work with the staff. And I feel confident we can probably find some sort of a solution that would be amicable to all of you all. I think it's something that we need to do. I'm not sure how the other commissioners feel about this, but nevertheless, the phone calls, the grocery store, the banks, and all that. No, just thank you very much for coming. Commissioner.
I'll just add, it doesn't hurt to bring really beautiful kids to a city commission meeting on the issue. But Tabitha, I want to compliment you and the group of parents and advocates who came together, because when most folks come to say, save our program, they don't likewise offer some prescripts for how we might be able to continue to afford it in a manner of partnership. So I would be very much so open to, if there is some sort of partnership agreement that can be worked out between now and the final budget period. And it seems like there may be some of the makings of that, given what you just said in your presentation. I'd be happy to consider that. And I'd like to then hold that up as a model for how we might proceed in future budget years on various projects, because as you know, the demands continue to grow and the pot, seems to be staying the same or going or decreasing. So I want to compliment you all for taking a very proactive approach at this.
Commissioner Miller?
Well, I just wanted to thank all the parents also, because this is actually participatory government. This is how democracies are supposed to work. I want to thank the Democrat for putting the word out, and I'd like for them to also put the word out on the other things that we're looking at having to cut money on too, and hopefully we'd get the same kind of response. What you have done here is the Democrat helped you to become aware of this problem, and then you got to work to try to solve it. It is important to our community to have this facility, but the fact is that we are up here having to weigh that between folks who are looking for food for this weekend, and so it's hard to address. What you've done has been solution-oriented, and you've gotten right in there in the trenches and gone to work. I would invite you also to participate in our budget process. But I also wanted to say that this is a result of our having our retreats on the budget that put this out in the public. People were able to observe our conversations earlier on in the process and then get to work and come back with answers. And so I'm real pleased to see that.
Well, Mayor, we've kind of preempted the speakers. I want to hear from Skylar.
All right, that's a good one.
My name is Skylar Frazier, and I would like you to save the Art Center.
I like that. Short and sweet.
Well, I'm convinced after Skylar. Thank you.
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I thought, okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
A final comment, actually two. I would like anyone that is watching this that is planning to come to our two public hearings on the budget. I think that last speech is a perfect example of how much time you should spend when you reach the microphone. The second part to that is I want to congratulate each and every one of you young people that are here. Your behavior is exemplary. You've been wonderful to have here, and you should also, and you are setting example for people to come later on, because you've been wonderful, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Civility prevails. Go ahead. Next speaker.
We do have a number of other speakers on this item. Alan Brown.
On this item? Let's make sure we get everybody on this item. Yeah.
And he'll be followed by Julia Harris.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm Alan Brown, 804 Timberview Drive. And 2003, I was living in Baltimore, Maryland. My wife and I were very happy there, but then our son was born, and she called me at work and said, would you ever consider moving back to Florida? We've lived all over Florida. I grew up in South Florida, we've lived in Central Florida, and we've lived in Tallahassee. I said I'd move back to Tallahassee. One of the things that I like about Tallahassee and that she loves about Tallahassee is Tallahassee's commitment to our natural habitat and community growth. And we saw that earlier in the meeting today, that we're best in just about everything that you can have in a city, and that's amazing, including the best park service. And this is part of our park service, just as when we go to Lafayette Park, it says right on the sign, America's best. It's a great thing. Well, this art center is a community treasure with an amazing low price tag. We have an art center that promotes creative development, creative expression, and critical thinking for all. On a personal level, I thought that I lacked all ability to draw. My wife gave me a no-fair drawing class as a present. Admittedly, I was very nervous, but I went, and the people at the center were wonderful. They made me feel so welcome. They gave me the confidence to participate and the skill to create. Now I can draw. My wife learned how to make stained glass at the center and continues to take more advanced classes to improve her skill level. My children were just heartbroken over the thought that it could close down. I've done, Mommy and Me class with my little girl. They changed the name to Daddy and Mommy. I didn't request it, but I got to do that with her, and it was wonderful. And my son has taken all sorts of crafts class there and gotten to go to summer class and do art. In addition to classes that work for my family, the center provides classes designed for homeschooled students, providing an outstanding service to help with their art education, critical thinking, and socialization. This center has been serving our community for over 50 years. As a community, we get a lot of bang for our buck. Tallahassee has spent a fortune developing G Street, and we've heard a lot about that today too. Shutting down the only community art center here would slight those efforts. If we want a city with culture, we need to cultivate culture. We need to plant the culture seeds, cultivate them, grow them into an independent cultural forest. So the question here today should not be one of whether or not to shut down this community gem. Rather, the question should be, how do we maintain the affordable prices of the programs so that all citizens who are in desire of this culture can participate? There are many possible answers to this question. One idea is to fill the classes.
Excuse me, your time's expired.
Very quickly, please.
Can I give 3 suggestions?
Give the 3 suggestions, please.
Okay, because I know that you guys were into suggestions for it. Lafayette Park doesn't have any signs that say that it's an art center.
Okay.
There's 4 roads that go around it. Not one of them lets people know that there's an art center there. Going down to the playground, and you look right up at the building, people don't know what that building is. I tell people we do classes there. Oh, really? I send people up there.
Number 2.
So so to do that, we can put signs up. Second thing, build information boards, put it down at the playground where people can see it. Let them know. Put one at Optimist Park. That's where the homeschool group in town meets. So you have a whole group that's easy to reach.
Number 3.
Eagle Scouts will do these projects for free. Number 3, we have a city TV station. It'd be great to see the classes on there televised. I bet that would get a lot of interest. Thank you so much.
Thank
Sorry
you.
for going a little over.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Julia Harris.
Mayor Marks, Madam Manager, Commissioners, and citizens of Tallahassee. I'm short. I apologize.
Why? Why you apologize?
Well, I have to move it way down. Today we've been honoring...
Name and address.
Name and address. I am Julia Harris. I'm at 3185 Brockton Way, Tallahassee, Florida.
All right.
I'm originally from Chicago, but I'd like to stay here forever if that's
Please.
possible. Today we've been honoring all of the amazing people that make Tallahassee a great city. And this past year, Tallahassee was ranked one of the top 10 most artistic cities in America, which I thought was fascinating, it being the same year that this budget line came in to get rid of the, wow, I'm nervous, to get rid of the Lafayette Park Arts and Crafts Center because of what we believe to be a $55,000 shortfall. It's unfortunate. Like Alan and many of my friends, my daughter has taken music and drama there, Mommy and Me art class, and even a cooking class at the age of 3. I've taken sommelier. My husband, God love him, took an oil class, and now my house is full of hideous oil paintings that I love dearly, and I hope he's watching. It is a national treasure. We are one of the top 10 most artistic cities in America, and this is our only art center. I'm still green. For my family to take all 5 of these classes cost less than $200. It was unbelievable. We were cash-strapped. My husband was a PhD student. We had no money. It was great. It was fabulous. Now we have a little bit of money, and I could pay even 33% more per class, even with a PhD student husband, and been able to make it work in the budget line. 33% is kind of a lot. It could fill that gap. So like Tabitha said, and I'm totally going off my notes that I wrote earlier, an increase in the class fees would definitely cover a significant portion of this $55,000 that we're looking at. Furthermore, Alan mentioned advertising free with the Eagle Scouts, but also the Park and Recs Department has a Facebook page, which I get all the information from, and then I sign up my family for all of these other things around town. The Arts and Crafts Center could also have a free Facebook page that could be a free way of advertising that's not just word of mouth. And I think even with the higher fees, the center could still provide the same resource to homeschooled children, as Alan said, and low-income families, as I happened to have been a couple of years ago, and still be that great resource, and still be the great resource for adults and for children alike. I'd like to end with 2 things. I know I'm yellow. One, I wish that among all the other people who were given awards today, that Miss Shelley Harkbisher could have been here. She's in a wheelchair. She's the one who taught us all these classes. She is our dearest treasure. She's an angel. Currently, she's not employed at the Lafayette Park Arts and Crafts Center because she is disabled, but she wants to come back and she wants a job, and she is incredible.
Excuse me, your time
I
has
wish she
expired.
could have been here. And thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I do have one more. You have free staff, free labor. We will make it work. We are intelligent, committed people that can make this happen for you. You don't even have to charge us. In fact, we'll pay you so we can keep taking classes there. Thank you.
Are you going to let your husband continue?
Sorry?
Are you going to let your husband continue?
My husband?
Those oil classes?
Actually, yeah, I will. I will. I'll let him even pay more for them. Thank you, Mayor Marks.
You're welcome.
Next speaker is Artie Meissner, and then we'll be followed by William Londot or Londo.
So I'll wait for green? Or?
No, go ahead. Name and address.
Hi, my name is Antje Meissner. I live at 1525 Yancey Street, and I am not artistic, the least bit, but my daughter is. And all I knew to do is give her a box of crayons, and then that wasn't enough. And so she went to Lafayette Arts and Crafts, where they've done amazing things for her. And she's a great artist, and they really help her and support her. And so we were devastated. She lost Mr. Larry's pottery class when the center was going to close. So I'm part of the moms group that's working with Tabitha. And mostly I want to focus on also some things, how we are willing to help the center and how things can be done. The center is the biggest kept secret in town. There's 2 ways to find out about classes. Once you're at the center, so you're a returning student. The other one is to go to the Telgolf website, find Parks and Recreations, find the center, find the PDF, open it. So you really have to go look for these classes to find them. So here are some things that we came up with. We would like to be a board or a friend's resource for the center because we know advertisement is expensive, and just give our services that way to help with the advertisement. We also would be willing to help find an intern, for example, who would help with the advertisement. Simple things as giving us parents a flyer at the end of the semester and say, can you put it up at New Leaf, at Publix, at Black Dog, wherever. These would be all helpful. There's 3 community schools close by, Kate Sullivan, Cobb, and Trinity. These schools alone could provide adult and children's students. Just maybe the staff too would have to be willing to approach these schools and say, would you be willing to put our schedule in the newsletter? Because it's true. Right now what will happen is we'll save the center because we have the cute kids to bring, but in 5 years you'll still have budget problems and we'll be back here. Sure. So what we want to turn this into is a thriving center, not just where us families fill the adult and the kid and the youth classes. So we want to really work on that this is as thriving as other places are in town. The center needs a Facebook site. What else do I have? Am I still there? I promise I'm fast. I'm more than willing to pay higher prices, but I also want this to remain a center for low-income families because there's too few of that. So we, with the resources we have, what we want to be is a resource to help you guys advertise. All that you would need is all classes to be full, and the center would probably carry itself. Mm-hmm. So please use us as a resource, and some basic advertisement would do a lot. The last thing I had as a suggestion was to, when you send out the utility bills, put in the schedule, and I know that's a lot of money for copying, but if it just would be in for all the Midtown neighborhoods, you'd have a huge resource, and this is just the neighborhoods there. I'm all done. Thank you very much.
Let me ask a question. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Do we have what I will call a Friends of Lafayette Park group?
No,
do we?
We do have a Friends of our Park. I don't know if it's
Do we have a
Lafayette
Friends of Lafayette Park, which made up of citizens and people who like you, who like what's going there? If not,
We have one now.
We have one now? All right, we have one now. We'll ask the people there to help you get organized as a Friends of Lafayette Park, because I think the suggestions that you've offered are really great. I mean, you come up, you're willing to work with it too. Hey, let's go. All right. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next speaker is William Londot. Did I get that correct, young man? Thank you.
All right.
Well, my sister went there, I think when she was about like 7 or 8 or something around that. And then she came home with a bunch of cool stuff. I never thought I could do it, and I'm probably not going to be able to. But I think she had a good experience, and that's really all.
That's good. Okay.
That's big brother.
That's great. Thank you very much. You are very eloquent. Okay, thanks. Next.
The next speaker is Molly Londot. She'll be followed by Andrew Londot.
Oh, this.
Hi, I'm Molly, the sister that he's
Oh my gosh.
I did, for a few years, a summer camp at the Lafayette Art Center, and in first grade, I did some classes there. And it's the only art center that Tallahassee has. And, well, it's just a really good experience. We need to save it.
Okay.
Because, like, other kids, I think, should have this experience. And it's just really amazing what you can do when you're taking an art class or an art camp. They show you stuff that you thought, like, before, oh, no, only, like, grown-ups and professionals can do that. It's just really amazing. Now, when I was littler, I wanted to be an artist. So, of course, my mom was like, okay, we'll sign you up for art. Like, you know, you'll grow out of it.
Needs to be a speaker.
I did grow out of it, but the experiences never go away. That's all. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Molly. Next.
Next is Andrew Londot.
I think you covered it very well.
The only other speakers on the Lafayette Center were Jacob and Claudia Sperber.
This is great.
Sure. Why don't we go together? I'll go first. Okay. Well, hello. My name is Claudia Sperber, and I live at 2019 East Indian Head Drive in Tallahassee, Florida. And this is my son, Jacob, who is 5, who is hiding. And I want to talk about 2 things. I want to talk about the importance for community building and the Lafayette Arts Center. We moved here in Tallahassee. Excuse me a moment. Yes, honey. Jacob would like to tell you that he does karate, and he just earned his yellow belt.
Very good.
And Jacob, why don't you come on out and show your sign? He's 5.5. I'm one of the homeschooling parents that has been referred to. He was inspired to write this sign all by himself. This is the longest piece of writing he has ever done at 5.5. Can you go up and show them what it says and tell them?
Art Center open.
Can you say that one more time? No. We want the Lafayette Park Center open.
Okay.
Do you want to sing your song? Pretty much everything has been covered, so I don't need to reiterate how great the center is, how important it is to rehire Miss Shelley Harshberger, who's been the spine, the teacher who had to get laid off because of serious disability. She's back. She needs the job, and we need her. And if we could have 1 or 2 years to keep the center just as it is, we parents can make it happen. Give us the chance. We love the center. It means so much to us you can't imagine. Don't move the center somewhere else. It needs to be where it is because it's by a playground. Why is that important? Community. Most schools now, most classes, you drive your child up. You drop your child off, you stay in your car, your kid comes back, you drive off. You don't meet anybody. But here, when you're done with your class, you meet your child, you meet the other parents. Other parents come to the playground because they know we're there. There's an actual moment for people to meet each other and be friends and play and talk. And if we get just a year or 2, we parents can make it happen financially. I'd like to end with a song. Jacob learned how to cut scissors. He learned how to walk. He learned how to wait in line for the glitter. He learned the itsy bitsy spider, these landmark moments of childhood happened there. And he would like to sing a song, and this is our closing.
All right.
Here you go, buddy.
Way up in the sky, the little birds fly, while down in the nest, the little birds rest. Shh, they're sleeping. When the bright sun comes up and the dew falls away, good morning, the little birds say.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Not on that item.
Not on that item?
Speakers, I think Commissioner
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gillum, because okay.
One of y'all.
I'm going to give my card to. We have an organization called the Council on Culture and Arts, COCA, which relies a great deal on city and county funding, and I'm sure that they could advertise and promote this. I'm the city's representative on that board, and if you will call me, I will make sure that I connect you up with the people over there so that they start to promote this more heavily if they haven't already. It seems to me one of the biggest things we need to do is fill the classes, and I think they can help.
Just to add, yeah, I was going to say, even though that is a great resource, I think you all have identified yourselves to be the best resources and the best advocates for this center. We have had some experiment with taking projects that have been a little more struggling, and return them to very, very vibrant operations. And I'll just use for one example the Heilemann Golf Course, which was bleeding money, which was on the chopping block during one of the city's budget cycles. And some of the golf enthusiasts got together and said, we can make that a profitable center. And today it is a high-performing, profitable, well-regarded city park with a lot of community support. And so I would just say, based on you all's demonstration tonight, you're not lacking anything. And in fact, you have the asset of these young people as motivators to sometimes, distract them and have them do other things while you do other things, to be a real motivator for making this thing turn around and become successful. So I'm completely bought into the idea of developing a plan for sustainability for the center, not just in this year's budget cycle, but in the out years. How do you make sure the classes stay full, the proper fees are set so that it stays sustainable, and that we're building the next generation of instructors and talent, and obviously by the display of these young people, the next generation of artists, independent thinkers and innovators for our city. So good luck.
There's also another model. I'm glad you mentioned that about the golf course. The same thing happened with the tennis courts out at Forest Meadows. There was an opportunity. It was in trouble, and the group of citizens got together, and not in dire trouble, but they got together. They wanted to expand it, and so they came up with a group, and they, donated enough money to put more tennis courts out there. Same thing happened with the gazebo on Lake Ella. Same concept. Somebody saw that, and they put that gazebo. So I want to commend you, and I will, if you need somebody to come to the first meeting of the Friends of Lafayette Park, we'll make it happen. I'll come, and one of the commissioners will come when y'all form that organization. Thank you very much. This has been really delightful. Not all the time our speakers, unagenda speakers, are as delightful as this. So thank you very much for coming.
Mayor, I want to say one thing too. Just while everybody's here, I was just going to echo some of what was said, and particularly what Commissioner Gillum said. Heilemann Golf Course, we came closer, I think, than people know to shutting that down. And it really was kind of a community and citizen and some staff here group that kind of saved it, and it's flourishing now. So it really is a model. But without your help, we will be right back here 2 years from now, 3 years from now, same deal. So we really have to change the whole dynamic to make this work. And with this kind of, involvement, I think we probably can.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just interrupt our process here. Benjamin Crump, who's the chair of our Airport Advisory Committee, came in a little bit late. He wanted to speak on the agenda item that had to do with the Airport Advisory Committee annual report to us. I think it has some important information, certainly for us to hear, and also our citizenry. So if we could just give him a few moments.
On the park.
Have we closed this out?
Huh?
Did we close this out?
Now, let us close the unagenda speakers, if you don't mind.
Well, can I make one more comment on the Lafayette Arts?
One final, I think there's
We got one more from Lafayette?
Well, no, I just want to make a comment.
Okay,
I've written down your suggestions. You had excellent suggestions, and there's no doubt in my mind that this is all going to be okay, and I have several other budget problems I want to give you to work on, too. But what I wanted, one of the suggestions was that we use WCOT, and this is the kind of community thing that I really would like to see us do with WCOT. I would like to see a program on the Arts Center that gets out to the community, especially during the times of enrollment periods, that we could run, every 6 months or ever how often we have these enrollment periods, just to let the public know exactly what's there, what's going on. Because what you've made me aware of that I was not aware of until tonight was that these classes are not full, that we're having trouble filling them, and you had excellent suggestions that are very inexpensive and easy to do to help to solve that problem. But I think we could step in with WCOT.
Okay, let us close. How many more unagenda speakers?
We have 2 additional speakers, Mayor.
What?
2.
2? Mr. Crump, we got 2 more unagenda speakers. It'll only be maybe 6 minutes or less, okay? Next speaker.
Next speaker is Dr. Erwin Jackson, followed by Curtis Baines.
Erwin Jackson, 1341 Jackson Bluff. Commissioners, I've got an idea where we can find some money to help these children and their problem. 2 years ago, I came before this commission, and I asked the commission to give up many of the perks that they've approved for themselves. I asked that you stop taking in return what I believe is illegal deferred compensation. That's $500,000. We're not talking about food and helping these children. It's whether you can keep the $500,000 or you can help these children. In today's paper we read, and 2 years ago I asked, the tens of thousands of dollars in your personal car allowances. You don't need that. Go ahead and we can close out the car allowances and spend the money here. And then finally we read about the quote free, and nothing is free, Civic Center tickets. Well, the paper said it's about $55,000 in the Civic Center tickets. The bottom line, in all these different areas, we do have priorities, and I think there's no reason that this commission can't do the right thing and start eliminating perks that you voted for, that you've approved. The zing in the paper today summed up, I think, one of the biggest problems, perceived problems, of this commission. And it is, and quote, the zing says, is Mark Mustian our most ethical commissioner or our only ethical commissioner? Now, for 2 years, I've been exposing what I believe is self-serving actions by our mayor.
You're right, it's been 2 years.
It has been 2 years. This board has remained silent. And when you remain silent, it's a perception of the public that you condone it. The failure of your taking any action or speaking out has resulted in a survey by Kerr and Downs Research that found that only 9% of the citizens in Tallahassee trust our local officials to act with integrity. That's horrendous. The U.S. Congress is at 11%. You have to start looking out for the citizens. You have to start doing what's right. We need to eliminate the money from deferred comp. We need to get rid of these other fringe benefits that you have. We have more important needs. Another thing in a paper which was very disappointing when I read, in today's paper, there was a quote. They asked Ron Spencer, why do we start giving these free tickets? Well, he said he thought it would be a good relationship thing to do since the city and county contribute money to the authority. Well, everyone wants to give commissioners money and spatial real estate deals and spatial contracts. That's what's called buying influence.
Excuse me, your time's expired.
It's called a bribe. In summary, I ask which commissioner will have the courage to stand up to cancel these individual perks and support a strong local ethics policy. And we're going to put this to an end, and thank you very much.
Last speaker is Curtis Baines.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, commissioners. Welcome back from your vacation. I hope you had a good time. I wanted to congratulate Commissioner Gillum on his re-election, and also the other. I don't see only one of the award recipients from earlier this evening. I wanted to congratulate them. I was telling Sam earlier that the one thing that he is perhaps most has been the greatest accomplishment in his life was getting me through graduate school. And then I thought, well, maybe that's not anything he wants to run around publicizing. So we'll just forget I said that. But what I did want to reiterate and remind you about tonight as we come back from vacation and we start looking at the budget a little bit more closely is what we expect to occur with our future Star Metro budget. We just saw the very real faces of some of the decisions, the adverse decisions you have to make in this economy, and I don't see that it's going to improve substantially in the immediate future. So these are going to be the kind of choices we're going to have to be making for several years to come, I feel, and This was, I think, a $55,000 decision. I'm not real sure. I was reading in the budget documents earlier on Star Metro, but we've got 69 buses and something like $7 million in the transit part of the budget. Now, I don't know if that's going to be, if we're going to need 80 buses and another $500,000 in the transit part of the budget, or where that's going to fall out. So I would still like for us to keep reminding you that we do need something from Star Metro on what it's going to cost us to get us to the kind of system that you expect to have with your new modal transportation plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Crump. Please come forward, Mr. Crump, and tell us exactly why you're here, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and this honorable commission. I come as the immediate past chair of the Airport Advisory Committee. I submitted my last report to you as a commission, and I thought it bear that I come and give just a few highlights in that report. I represent all the advisory committee. They are a great committee, 17 members from across the Big Bend area. Our current chair is Sue Dick. You all know her as the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. It is important to know that Sunil Harmon and Marsha Taggart and the employees over at the airport have been doing a fantastic job. They have stopped 7 years of losses at the airport. They have grew passengers' demands by 4.5% this year. They have reduced fares by 23%, and that's real important in these hard economic times. As a person in the Tallahassee business community, we should applaud them for that. They have reduced airline costs by 10% to encourage airlines to keep working with us to continue to make the fares lower for our Tallahassee citizens to travel. I thank Madam Manager for Jay Townsend regularly attending our meetings, and I acknowledge Commissioner Ziffer as always attending our commissions. As a personal note, Mr. Mayor, I have to say, as a person who's been in 4 airports in the last 4 days, St. Louis, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Orlando.
And Tallahassee now, though.
Well, I drove back, unfortunately. Due to the leadership of Sunil Harmon and Marsha Taggart, the appearance of our airport is one of the most visibly appealing airports in America, and it wasn't always like that. So I think they should be recognized for having the vision to really take our airport to the next level. And in closing, I say this to this honorable commission, because I'm an attorney. Check the record. But I believe you will find that the airport has performed better now than it has ever performed in its history, and that it is all due to these fine leaders and the employees and staff over at the airport. So in my final report, I wanted to come and acknowledge the great work that these employees are doing for the city of Tallahassee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crump. Just for the record, I believe Mr. Crump would come under appearances by city commission appointed boards and committees and other governments rather than on agenda speakers, okay? We're on sharing of ideas, I think.
We are.
Sharing, anybody? Let's start with Commissioner Gillum.
Well, I want to pick up from where the distinguished former chairman left off, and that is, you'll continue to hit bumps in the road. Hopefully, if you're doing your jobs correctly, and I assume that you are, you'll continue to hit bumps in the roads as you all press forward. Obviously, the commission has to contend with its policy around local preference. And I think we've made very strong statements about that, and I believe our policies reflect that. I believe if you were to look at the dockets of where business goes in this community, it would also reflect that commitment to local businesses. As far as you all are concerned and your obligation, I think this entire commission would say that we expect you to make us one of the #1 airports in America for our size, which would include reasonable and low fares, which would include an aesthetically pleasing environment that passengers have a good experience in. And I would hope it would improve our baggage handling on the return when you're waiting out there by that carousel for however long you are to pick up your bags. I say that in jest, but the truth is those are the sorts of things that make individual customers and the taxpayers in this community have a good, positive, uplifting experience. And I can't wait to open up one of those Fly Delta magazines or one of those magazines on any one of these planes and see an advertisement that's telling people to fly out of Tallahassee. That we are a regional center for South Georgia, for Wakulla, for the 4 or 5 surrounding counties of which you can come to and get reasonable fares, great treatment, and leave having had a great experience. So regardless of the challenges and the bumps in the roads that you have and will continue to have, I hope you all will continue to move forward very aggressively to deliver on both the short-term and the long-term plans that this commission has for the future of our regional airport. And so I want to encourage you. Sunil, you said during your comments, that certain comments have sort of soured some of the good news. I would charge it's your responsibility to keep the good news going and keep it flowing, and to not be diminished by that. And we have an obligation to ensure that we're propping up our local economy as best we can in every way we can. That is fair, that is ethical, that is legal, and certainly complies with all federal laws when it comes to contracting and bidding agreements. So anyway, good luck and great job up to this point.
Commissioner Ziffer.
Sure. It probably started about 2 weeks before we went on break. I left a Council on Culture and Arts meeting over in front of Boulevard Park. I saw several young people working out with these tension rods, and they were hooked up to one of our brand new light posts out there, which costs a lot more money than I care to probably even mention. I walked over with my arms raised saying, nobody's going to call the police, but you can't do this. And I introduced myself, and there's several young people. When I say young people, they were in their early, mid-20s. And so I came back and met with Tom Coe and Dee Crumpler and challenged them to try to figure out a different way for them to do this. And we evidently had some dollars left with the renovation of those parks, and they came back, and we have purchased and installed some what's referred to as TRX equipment. They have, it's available to anybody to use at any time. Ashley Edwards and Dee did a wonderful job on installation. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. There's a young lady named V who is certified in training, and she conducts free classes. If you like pain, I urge you to go, because this is the most unbelievably vigorous exercise regimen you will ever go through. I've gone now 2 weeks in a row, and I can honestly tell you it hurts to walk upstairs right now. I plan to go back next Tuesday. I invite you, seriously, it's a great opportunity, and it shows the ingenuity and the responsiveness of our Parks and Recreation Department. It's incredible. There were probably 20 people out there last week and probably over that this week, and it continues to grow, and I know people are using it all the time. So I want to thank our Parks and Recreation Department, and I invite other people to come out.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, just one more. I'm sorry, I forgot. Our efforts with the Department of Transportation, Secretary Prasad, that we have all been engaged in from time to time, and most recently, I've been engaged with his office, and I met with him on Monday of this week to discuss Tennessee Street. And this is after the Secretary sort of put a hold on the process. He then dispatched his staff to figure out what needed to be done most immediately to improve some of the pedestrian safety issues that were surfaced during our last discussion on it. They're going to be bringing forward to this commission a presentation on sort of what their findings are. And I got a preview of some of what we're going to hear, and I think you'll be pleased by some of the recommendations that they're putting forward, but not just the recommendations, but the fact that they're also going to pay for it. It includes pedestrian islands along Tennessee Street at 3 different locations where our survey data shows that the most pedestrian to vehicular accidents have occurred. They have proposals for deterring students or others or pedestrians from crossing at inappropriate locations along the Tennessee Street corridor, which has been a problem, and are going to be moving them towards through some of the signage, through some of the fencing recommendations, through some of the aggressive tactics that they have to channel people to proper crossing points. It includes flashing light changes, and it includes signalization changes, and it also includes agreement from FSU for aggressive enforcement on jaywalking, so on and so forth. So the greatest part about the presentation is there was no ask for any additional resources from us except participation in a public awareness campaign. Over the next 3 months, they're going to be beginning about meetings with various stakeholders in the community, and just want you all to be aware that those are going to be taking place so that none of us are sort of caught by surprise. But not sure when it will be agenda, but this is an item that we can expect to come forward from the Department of Transportation.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Mayor, I too did some TRX over the break, not at that facility. My main claim after the first one is I did not vomit during that. But David Chapman has got me doing this. So
this is neat.
Nice.
We're going to have a fit commission here.
That's,
Well,
Mr. Miller, what are you going to do?
with some exception, maybe.
come on out Tuesdays and Thursdays.
You know, I just want to reiterate a couple of things. And, you know, tonight we had some people who were recognized, Sam and Cindy and the Chief of Police and Ms. Rosser and others. And then we had folks from Lafayette Park to give us some input and some other things. And I just want to reiterate that the citizens' input and the citizens' involvement in this community is very, very vital. And I thought what I heard tonight about this city and the things that we're doing in this city is just absolutely wonderful. It's really great when you've got a chief of police like we have, a chief of the fire department like we have, and we got citizens that are willing to step to the plate. That's what makes this community what it is. And so with few exceptions, I want to thank all of those individuals for their input and what they're doing on behalf of this community. I just think it's just remarkable. Thank you so much for that. Anybody else? With that, we stand adjourned.
Just across the county line, where you best believe you'll be asking about it second time.